Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, man. I always say it's time to have some real political, some inspirational, some empowering information shared tonight. Man, have a little fun about it. Because in these present times right now, the GG Factor wants to offer you the alternative. I'm Gregory Griffith. Thank you so very much for being with me tonight. You know, the Gregory Griffith perspective is simply something I can quantify because you know what I always say is either for real or it's a quantitative lie. So it's either for real or it's a subjective lie. Excuse me. You can quantify or it's a subjective lie. So tonight, boy, we got so much going on. Woo, man, I don't know where to really start. I'm going solo tonight. I'm going to be changing some format around. It will no longer be called the GG Factor. The next time you hear me, it'll be called the Activate or Stagnate Show because I'm going to be looking for people who seriously want to disclose where their pain points. People who are procrastinators. People who are having a struggle with finding their passion, their purpose, and their possibility. So tonight, you know, when I stop the music, I make it official. Yes, it is the GG Factor, but it's also about activating or stagnating in your life. Maybe you can see one or two of my books behind me tonight, but one of them is called Activate or Stagnate. And I'll tell you something. For what we're going through in this country, what's going down right now, boy, you've got to be an activator. It'll force you to procrastinate because of the fear of failure. It'll force you to buy into the narrative that should I say, the present administration is sharing with us right now. And you know me, I'm one of the guys going to speak truth to you. All I'm doing is speaking to you about what's trending in economics, what's trending in healthcare, what's trending in politics tonight. And I don't know, I guess one of the most profound things that went down over the last few days, I guess it was maybe in the last 48 hours that 47 had a meltdown. I don't know what happened. I don't know who pissed him off. I think the lady's name over on Meet the Press Sunday, was it? I think it was Sunday morning, might have been. But I just want to bring it to your attention. I'm sure the whole world is watching, but trying to ask the question, you know me, that big old 3-letter question, why? Why did President Trump melt down like he did, knowing this was a global expression of, you know, what's going on around us? Surely the intentions were to make it a mutual, constructive way to communicate with her name. What's her name? Is Christine Welker, excuse me, from Meet the Press on NBC. Man, within a matter of minutes. And you know something? This is a reoccurring thing with the present administration. I don't know what it is. It seemed to be that there's constantly a female almost unsettling attack. Nobody knows. We don't know why. We're just following his lead because the people who decided that he should be president, they probably got some question marks right now about what's up, what's really going on. He all but viciously attacked this woman. He called her stupid if she works for NBC. He called everybody who works at CNN stupid. They're thieves. They're fraudulent. And you know, the one thing that really I just have to start to show off with and ask the question is, why does the present administration and all of his cohorts seem to be like abiding constituents about the fact that the election was stolen from him back in 2020? I don't understand that. And they say that it's less than even 1% of votes over the entire United States of America that could be considered fraudulent. And that still would not give 47 the chance to be able to sit there and say that it's fraudulent. Remember, he's the guy that called up and said, I need to find some votes in Georgia. A whole lot went down. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, I got to smile about it, man, because he can't quantify it. I don't know the guy's name right now. Forgive me. All I know is that, what's her name? Abby Phillips on CNN. She has a round table, and she will bring about 5 people out, some who are Republicans, some who are actually Democrats. Very rarely, you know, interesting enough that she has someone who's a quote unquote liberal. But this gentleman tonight, there's always this ongoing, conflict between what the right is saying, who usually always some kind of way seem to make the present administration correct. They never seem to want to just admit that there's an error. They never want to admit that the numbers are justifiable, that nothing is subjective. And tonight, for me, on the GG Factor, I'm just going to say this to you. I'm trying to figure out this. Why? Why can't we in America just accept the fact that nobody who's in the White House makes all the decisions and they're the right ones or the correct ones? You think January 6th was the right decision? And he's constantly saying he had nothing to do with it, but come on, man. You know, I thought I saw a lot of people went MAGA, you know, make America great again. So all I can say is that by default, when you ask our country, our taxpayers to give you $1.7 billion after pardoning all these people to pay them now, to give them some sort of resolution financially, you know, I'm just going to speak truth to you tonight. It's scary. I don't have time to get deep about anything else other than the reality that it is scary. You know, and we have to be proactive. You know, I told you I'll give you some alternatives, and we'll discuss a few strategies tonight that would be alternatives to what's going on. And the one thing I talk to people about every single week on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, man, you got to live your life like none of this is going on. You got to live your life that from a place of what I call the P3 theory. Live your life from a place of passion, knowing that it's your purpose, and you keep knocking on the door to the universe in some kind of way. When it's something that you truly love to do, don't you find it interesting? The universe finds these infinite possibilities. And there are people, I mean, we can go far back as COVID-19 when we had to take a lot of random pivots about the way the economy was just cranking down. All these jobs lost. I know myself in the sectors that I'm still in and was working in back then. In the real estate sector, I liquidated a lot of my portfolio. In the entertainment industry, I had multiple contracts that had to be canceled. And I guess all glory to God that I was able to do exactly what I'm telling you tonight. I looked at where my passions and my purpose and my possibilities were. I took the pivots. I decided I needed to do this, and it happened. I avoided bankruptcy, I avoided foreclosure, and all those things that we could sit here and talk about. But oh boy, it didn't come without a price to pay. So right now, we're not nowhere near what would be a COVID-19 experience in this country. But let me tell you something, the Strait of Hormuz over there, where they've just now blocked a whole lot of commerce that would be globally activity around this world, primarily from the should I say, the exchange of oil. I think they said about 25% of the world's oil is coming right out of Iran. Scary. You know, I did a thing on gasoline. We all know how much it did go up. It's coming back down somewhat. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know who's worried about that? The people who are not making enough money. The people who are not monetizing their passions. See, if you got a product or you got a service that you're producing, the odds are that somebody still needs that product and that service. And you just got to be a little bit flexible. People got to still eat. They may stop going out, but they still have to. Because sometimes you got to learn when to and how to detach from it all. There's certain services that will not change. People will still need them. So maybe some of those services, some of those products that you're not involved with right now, at a time like this when things are very fragile, I want to ask the question, have you decided that you could take the pivot and monetize your passion? I want you to think about that while I sip my tea. Are you monetizing your passion when we're dealing with situations that are, quote unquote, very predictable to be unpredictable in the US of A today? One of my passions I've had since I was a kid, 16 years old, is just being a professional musician. And I'd like to give a shout out tonight, an example of a singer who's been working with me for over 20 years. And on Thursday nights, I always talk about relationships. The masterclass on how to strive with big pride to create the right relationships, the who, what, the when, where, and the why tonight. And the reason why I mention relationships is because Rachel Brown, Israel Charles, James J.T. Taylor, Carl Brown, Stuart Bacon, Miriam Albasu Griffith, people in our media circle who believed in what we were doing, and we formed something called the Urban Music Group over 20, well, actually, it's been about 20 years ago, coming up this year. Our flagship artist was her birthday tonight, June 9th, Rachel Brown. And she released a single, a song that James J.T. Taylor wrote. Rachel collaborated with them. Israel collaborated with them. Through that collaboration, through my management efforts and my hustle and my grind, I can remember Rachel and I going to Atlanta, Georgia, going to the Billboard conference, learning how to get the music out there. And within 6 months of that release, she had a #1 single in Billboard. People were buying her CDs like we couldn't believe it. And guess what? It wasn't a whole lot of radio play, but it was hustle. It was grind. It was passion. It was purpose. And the reason why I'm using me as an example tonight is because that is what happens when you get on the grind with your passion and your purpose, and you knock on the door to the universe and it answered. I would never ever forget that. I had a young lady on my show last week. Shout out to Dr. Jacqueline King. She is now, boy, the profound social media, or should I say just the person who's handling Matthew Knowles' social media. And the reason why I mention that, because that's Beyonce's dad. And we met this man 20 years ago when Crazy in Love was just hitting the block, and Matthew Knowles was out there hustling for his daughter, Beyonce. And that man said something back then that stayed with me and Rachel to this very day. You can't quit. You got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to know that if it's your intellectual property, it should prosper you. Yeah, let's fast forward 20 years later. I don't have to tell you what Matthew Knowles is doing. We may not be superstars, but guess what? I don't know but a handful of people who were around back then that are still in this industry. You know, I was in Tampa, Florida last week for my shout out to my granddaughter, Alyssa Griffith. She's just graduated high school, getting ready to go to Hillsborough Community College, and then she's going right over to the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida, my hometown. And I'll tell you what, man, you know, just being there, being around these young people, being around that kind of giant cohort of people saying whoop, whoop, whoop for all of their children graduating was so powerful. It was so, so, so powerful. And I told my granddaughter, while I'm bringing her name up right now, I said, listen, I don't know what you decide you want to do. She's going into IT. But you all know the impact of AI right now. And let me tell you something. Anytime I speak of artificial intelligence, I say, boy, you better still make sure that your system, the way you save yourself time, energy, and money, your blueprint for your success. You won't get a paper that by default is no good. Don't spend the next 4 or 5 years of your life going to a college. I said, please don't do that, Alyssa. Create a product or a service that people will always need. And that is why on this show tonight, you know, I bring up what's going on with our economy. I bring on what's going on in politics. I bring up what's going on in healthcare, what's going on in education. Because there's something going on that we have to do is be a little bit ahead of me talking about it every week, COLA. The government tries to say they're giving us a cost of living allowance, but then we all can see that it never seems to be in alignment with what's going on. When I went into the industry of education, I got my master's degree. I'm a retired teacher of 31 years. It only took about 3 paychecks, and I thought I'd be all right, and I realized not working. Not working. Oh, wow. You just told me that. Wow. I'm sorry. She just told me I wasn't live over on IG. I'm sorry, you guys, man. I thought I was there. Tell me if it's happening, and I should be. I don't know why not. You know, I'm going to try something a little different. Bear with me 1 second right here. We're trying to make sure we reach all the platforms who have the opportunity to be inspired and empowered tonight. I think because I might have had my airplane mode on. Thank you so much, my My host is over there kind of informing me that I wasn't reaching the people over there. I'm going to try it again here and see what happens if we can go live. Okay, they are saying now that I am. My apologies for that little light delay. But there are millions over there on IG. There are millions watching me on YouTube tonight. There are millions somewhere if they feel like streaming with me on YouTube. And go out and tell somebody that the activators in the house tonight. The GG Factor will be for the most part transitioning to a new name. Instead of being called the GG Factor Show, it's going to be called the Activate or Stagnate Show. So I think that I have to say this to be very respectful to you tonight. Are you an activator? Sorry for that little delay right there, IG. I got you. You're back. But listen, are you an activator? Are you someone who's taking action in your life? Are you someone who's a procrastinator? Are you someone who's feeling a pain point? I put a couple of my, should I say, my website, a couple of links to the other one directly to my Strive to Succeed class on Thursday nights. I'd like to invite anyone out who wants to come on this show. We're going to be shifting the format. We're reaching out to everybody all around the world who's got a problem, who's got a pain point, who's living in relationships that are toxic, or in environments that are toxic, people who are procrastinators, people who are letting the fear of failure stop them. So keep your eyes on the GG Factor transitioning to the Activate or Stagnate Show over the next 3 to 4 weeks. You'll still see my logo behind me. I left my hat. Maru, could you hand me my little activator.net hat? I want to slip it on for a minute because I do want to make sure you understand this. People are hurting out here right now. And I feel without a shadow of doubt that everyone has the opportunity to monetize their passion. The activator.net, wearing my little hat right here that says the activator.net, want you to understand something tonight. Nothing has ever stopped anyone who believed in something that they could create from that imaginary conversation. Nobody said it would be easy. If you ask someone like Tyler Perry, no one said it would be easy. You ask Steve Harvey. No one said it would be easy. Boy, there's a lot of people out here. Jim Carrey, ask him. Ask some of these people, man, who ask Mel Robbins what she went through before she has the breakthrough Mel Robbins podcast right now. Ask Emma Green what she went through. Ask Oprah Winfrey. Ex-Michelle Obama, ex-Barack Obama. And since we're coming up on June 19th, I better put it out there right now. If you're anywhere in the area of Augusta, Georgia, I'll be presenting there as a speaker and workshop presentation person there in Augusta, Georgia on June 19th, Juneteenth, for Blacks in Government. I'm honored that I've been invited there out of a big pool of people who wanted to come out. Was one of the chosen ones. Me, and a shout out to my man, Dr. Robert Lemon. We're going to be piling up together there to get up to Augusta, Georgia next week. So keep watching me here. Keep watching my website, theactivator.net. If you know anyone in the Augusta area and you want to really get some lifestyle management skills, some personal development skills, some skills that will help you live by what I call my strive to success relationships, should I say strategies? And you know my word for strive: study, try, remember, innovate, visualize, and educate yourself forever. So if you go to theactivator.net, as we transition from the GG Factor to the Activator Stagnate Show, out here looking to help people realize where they are. Trust me, if you're in Augusta, Georgia on June 19th, you'll get fired up. You'll get focused. You'll activate your, should I say, your P3. You'll become bold as a lion. You realize that you're the captain of your ship. You realize that you got to have a burning desire and a dream. You realize that every day you wake up empowered. You wake up with relentless enthusiasm. You wake up fired up. You wake up full of focus. And above all things, you keep your faith faculty activated. I just gave you 6 of my 26 strategies I'm going to share. And most importantly, and I say it every week to people, and I think it's a pretty good time for me to hold up one of my books. On Thursday nights, I have the Strive Masterclass, and I think it's a pretty good point in the show to kind of talk about it. I'm a 25-time marathoner. This is just simply one of my 25 medals, and I'm here to speak to you tonight that I knew what it took back then. This was over 20 years ago in my life when I was over 40 years old and decided that I wanted to coach cross country. Over 40 years ago when I had to take the pivot and go back to school and get a master's degree and become a full-time teacher. Never stopped living with my passion and my purpose, though. I never just felt like I had to quit the music business, and I didn't. And I can respectfully say the same way I thought 1 mile, 4 laps around the track would kill me. Who am I talking to over there on Instagram tonight? Somebody's trying to run the marathon to life's success story. But you don't jump up like a real marathon and run 26 miles. You run 1 mile at a time. You get activated. That 1 mile becomes 2. That 2 becomes 4. That 4 becomes 8. The next thing you know, you're running a half marathon. And your success story is no different than that. So I'm offering you the alternative. If you're live with me right now, you can click the link right there to come into the Strive to Succeed Masterclass. You can DM the word succeed right now. You can DM even the word action right now. And I promise you this, the strategies that we share on Thursday nights, you get a copy of this book if you decide to come into my Get Activated community. You get a copy of my ebook, Activate or Stagnate, the book behind me. You get me once a month if you come into the Get Activated community. The community only costs $97 a month. If you want maximum potential coaching, it's $997 a month. But I'm offering a special, and I call it my 30, 60, 90-day experience. If you can, I'm going to put this up so you don't have to see my face, but hear me. If you can take this 30-day challenge and see what the yellow section says there, a step-by-step guide to activate peak performance, IG, a step-by-step guide to activate peak performance, and do it with me for 30, 60, 90 days of your life, I'll give you the next 30 days free. So if you come in and you sign up with me for 3 months in the Get Activated community, you save yourself another $100 by just coming in there for another month at no cost to no one but me. If you come to the 30 Days to a New You MPC, which stands for Maximum Potential Coaching, you get another month free. And I know this, and I can quantify this. And in this book, we talk about so many things that people have been able to do in just 30 days. Incredible inventions, wars, all kind of IT type things, all kind of economic moves, all kind of moves in education. All kind of moves, even in healthcare, happen in 30 days. And imagine if you to block off right now, June, July, August, even right until the middle of the month coming into September. Just get past Labor Day and hang out with me. By the time you get to Halloween in the month of October, your life won't be the same. And the point I'm trying to make is this. If you continue to have the pain points, you continue to have the frustrations, you continue to have the fear of failure mindset, sometimes you need a mentor. I've had mentors, man, for well over 10, 15 years of my life. And for the last maybe even 3 to 5 years, even more of them. I wouldn't be on this show tonight. I wouldn't have another show on Thursday nights. I wouldn't have even had those 2 books behind me right now. I know I probably wouldn't have. But there were people in my camp, and they reminded me. They remind me of something I want to remind you of tonight. Everybody gets 24/7, 168 hours a week to manifest their greatness. 24/7, 168 hours a week, every week, to should I say, invent yourself, to define yourself, to function at your maximum potential, to become a better version of yourself in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. So the show as we move forward, I'm going to say probably closer to the 4th of July, will be called the Activate or Stagnate Show. And people who come onto the show and come into my community, they'll get a free copy of my book. They'll get an ebook of Activate or Stagnate. They'll get a hard copy of this book, which is just like a 30-day working, should I say just workbook. Simple little book, but boy, it's powerful. And all I want to do is be your liaison from where you are now to the middle and then see that light at the end of the tunnel. You even say it every week. We fall down, but we get up. Like Donnie McClurkin would say, you're going to fall down too. Do you feel you're falling right now and you can't get up? That's a loaded question. Do you feel you've, because of the fear of failure, fallen down enough that you're still stagnated? You're still a procrastinator? You're still sitting on the bench of life? Well, come on out on Thursday nights. Go to theactivator.net, click the Get Activated community, and come on in. If you don't want to join the community, you don't have to. But when you go to theactivator.net, free, no cost to you, you can still come into my class. Here's the code that you put in. Strive, STRIVEMC. That's wide open to anyone who wants to come in this Thursday night. Because in about 2 weeks, when my new funnel is set up, it'll still be free. But I got a bundle I'm going to offer you, man, that won't be free. You know, we're about to celebrate 250 years of independence in this country. Why don't you celebrate one of those like Rachel Brown is doing tonight? One of those next birthdays that should be like a celebration to you. Why don't you just come into my camp and hang out with me for a year? I got a great discounted price for a year of activation of letting the activator help you take your life to the next level. The questions are very simple. Do you want to define yourself? Do you want to activate your true identity? Do you want to become a better version of yourself? And most importantly, and it's one of the first pages in my book, do you want to learn how to function at your maximum potential? You think it was easy for me to run 25 marathons? And I did 20 of them in 1 decade. That was 2 marathons a year. I was a full-time teacher, a full-time musician. I started teaching in 1996. In 1997, 1 year later, I bought an apartment building with a laundry room in the back, bid it with no banks, didn't have to worry about my FICO, didn't have to worry about how much I had to have down, kept it for 20 years, sold that apartment building and bought a strip mall with the equity in that apartment building. Those are some of my intellectual properties. Those 2 books behind me, why wouldn't I help you write your first book? We all have pain points. We all have places where we're just so afraid of stepping out of the box that it stagnates us. And you know what I call stagnation? Organized chaos. Because people function in stagnation. They wake up every day and go to jobs for 10, 20, sometimes 30 years and retire and was miserable for more than half of their adult life. There are people who stay in toxic relationships with people who are abusing them, abusing their children, both physically and, should I say, just mentally. May even not have to hit you, but calling you a loser, you're lazy, you're a piece of crap, I can't stand you. Who wants to be in a relationship like that? That organized chaos is just a slow road to death because stress kills. That's why when I watched Donald Trump the other night, it seemed like a vein was about to pop in his neck. I don't know if the whole world saw it. His face turned a different color, orange or something. And he was so nasty to this woman. And all she said to him was, "Sir, I'm just trying to quantify with you that what you're saying is not true." And the more she said that to him, the angrier he got. Somebody elected this man to be president. He's never been a politician. He's the apprentice. I know his intentions with us being 100 days at war. Do you all realize that 100 days and $30+ billion later, we still don't have an answer? And they just fired some drones and attacked each other when they said it was supposed to be a ceasefire. There was supposed to be a ceasefire. I don't know, man. It makes me uncomfortable. That's why I talk to people so much about the alternative. I'm going to always keep bouncing back to the alternative. Monetize your passion. Don't worry about 47 and what they're doing. He's on a mission. And me, I get the perspectives from both sides. A lot of people who just listen to CNN, only listen to CNN. A lot of people only go to Fox News, only stay with Fox News. No, man. I'm in my truck sometime riding around and I turn on AM radio and I hear that right-wing perspective. I hear the perspective that Donald Trump can't do nothing wrong. Everything he does is right. Even when it seems as totally wrong as it could be, somebody turns around and justify it. And if you ever watch some of these shows and listen to these people, especially now when the platforms got left-wing people who are over there, and don't get me wrong, there are people doing stuff in the Democratic Party that I don't like. There are people on the Republican side I don't like. But one thing I have to accept, whether I like it or not, is the decisions that the president administration make that impact all of us. And that impact, man, sometimes it's kind of hard to swallow, man. It's hard to swallow. When you're telling me you can justify giving somebody money back for what they did at our Capitol, for killing policemen, you can pardon them? We have to stop sometimes. And Maya Angelou said it. When they show you who they really are, you better look up. You better recognize. And we being slapped right in the face. We just better recognize. Let me tell you something. As we approach Juneteenth on June 19th, when I go over there and stand in front of those people, blacks in government, I'm going to say, don't you forget that Jesse Jackson said that I am somebody. You are somebody. Michelle Obama said that your story matters. John Lewis said you got to have some good trouble. And you know what Martin Luther King has always said, have a dream. And you rise above anything that any present administration is doing. You'll just rise above it. It's something about having passion, purpose, and knowing that there's a possibility. You can go even far back with Juneteenth and think about someone like Harriet Tubman and what she believed in that Underground Railroad. Woo! Boy, against all odds. And it's a sad shame when you fast forward all the way to George Floyd. When a man who puts a badge on and put a gun on his hip feel he can stand there and put his foot on somebody's neck until they die. And dared anybody to make a move because he had a gun and was wearing a uniform to say he a cop. And that man hadn't done nothing. A dude running through the streets over there, I think it was in Atlanta, Georgia somewhere. They took the law into their hands and gunned him down. Trayvon Martin, the little kid, just walking around with a hood on. See, my point I'm bringing to you right now, there's still some good trouble. There's still the reality of what we're dealing with right now. With DEI and all of these programs for the disabled and all these SNAP programs and everything that we know the people who are getting them. Of course, there's abuse and everything, but please don't just say you want to cut out what's so necessary, which should be unconditionally never ever touched. I have a very sensitive spot for those with special needs. My master's degree is in exceptional student education. I worked with special needs kids for 3 decades of my life. And there's not too much I hadn't seen. And God bless that we had the Kennedy family who came up with that PL 94142 Act and came up with IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Educational Act, something called due process, the kind of things that happen in this country, that there was someone in their family who had a disability. And I wonder to this day, and that's what happened. We know Franklin Roosevelt had a disability. People who did things when they were in position to help. There was a program when I was a high school teacher that I think is very relevant to the conversation tonight. Since we're only about 35 minutes in, I only got about 5 more minutes in. I'm going to call it a night tonight. I had a job within my job as a teacher. My job was to go in the community. Did you know that? And I had to find special needs kids jobs. That was my job. Go out and find these kids jobs. And let me tell you something. For every 25, I might have found one that said yes. I got about 25 kids I'm trying to represent. I'm going out, I'm knocking on the doors to Dunkin' Donuts, knocking on the doors to BJ's, knocking on the doors to, you name it, Starbucks. I'm knocking on the doors to Walmart. I'm knocking on the doors to Target. I'm knocking on the doors to what drives this country, and here where everything turned different. I'm knocking on the doors to small business. And every now and then I would knock on the door. The program I was in was called the PASS program, Post Alternative Secondary Schools program for kids who are 18 to 23 years old, were not college bound, had significant cognitive deficits, but they had the physicality and enough mentality that they could go out there and work. And it wasn't until almost every one of those small businesses that let those kids come in, if you had a good conversation with them, someone would say, my daughter has a disability, or my mom's uncle has a disability, my son's got a disability, or my daughter had a kid who's got Down syndrome, or my neighbor next door has a son with autism. They had empathy versus apathy. And I heard Glenn Beck, speaking of people on the right the other night, talking about people who decided to terminate the life of one of their children before it was even born because it was determined that that child had Down syndrome. And then the calls just started flooding in. They was coming in left and right. Oh, you're murderers. You're killing your kid. But you don't walk in their shoes. You can't make that decision for no one. Everyone deserves to make that decision. I know a lot of people only voting over on the right side because they're against abortion. Only voting on the right side. Don't care what Trump do. No matter what happens. No matter how many disability jobs he take away. No matter how many programs he take away. No matter what he does. Everything else he does wrong. But, oh, man, he speaks pro-life. The people who were on that show that night were pro-choice. And no matter what decision someone makes, who are we to judge them? Who are we to judge them? And what I learned out there, hustling my butt off, I got paid pennies for the extracurricular activity. Never paid a nickel for my extra mileage. I barely could get by out there, but I went out there in the afternoons. I hustled for these kids. And even during the day, 3 or 4 times a week, we took them out and got them to train to become employable. And you know what happened, man? I found that we have a very, very empathetic world out here against all odds. People care. People care. People care. Don't be blurred by the present administration. We're seeing blatant apathy. We're seeing blatant, I don't give a damn about you. I don't care if you're poor. I don't care if you need SNAP. I don't care if you need somebody to come by and pick you up and take you to the doctor. I don't care if you need health care over here. I don't care if you need food. I don't care if you need an assistance to pay your light bill. It's sad. It's sad. And something needs to be done. I've been giving a lot of thought to just deciding, do I want to jump into this political arena? Because there are always hidden obscurities in the world of politics. Because guess what? A whole lot of people are just very apathetic about the whole political process. And I might as well shift gears right now. I just want to share with you that I'm very sensitive to someone taking all the money that goes in a pool and deciding it's not necessary for people who can't even help themselves. I work with kids who can't feed themselves. They can't see. They can't hear. Kids who can't walk. Kids who can't talk. And they got all kind of assistance to help them to just navigate through life. And then you come along and say, oh, I think we need to cut that. There's too much abuse of money. Oh, I think we need to cut that. There doesn't seem to be evidence that we should extend that amount of funding to that. But then you can spend $35 billion on a damn war. We're 100 days in and we still don't have no answers. I don't know what's going on. And speaking politically right now, I even had a chance to bring it up. Have you watched that race for the mayor that's going on out there in California, in LA? It's crazy. They got a man running around acting like he's Superman, putting on all kind of masks and all that kind of crap, and trying to say that he is justifiably somebody that we want to put in an office like that to run a city as big as the one, Los Angeles, California. I don't even know his name, and I don't even want to give him no slack. All I know is the presiding male has been doing a job that a lot of people obviously clearly seem to be happy with. There's just so much going on in politics. They make fun of the governor of California because he's dyslexic, has dyslexia. It's a little tongue tied. I guess you got me. Dyslexia. Huh. I had to go back to the teacher and make it a little more articulate to make sure that I convey the communications correctly. But they're making fun of him, man. Say, oh, how the hell he want? Because he's thinking about running for president. What you want to give him a chance to run for president when you let Arnold Schwarzenegger be a governor? You let Ronald Reagan become president, who was an actor. And we giving a man that all he ever done was get on the apprentice and say, you're fired. A man whose family wouldn't even rent to black people, and you made him president. Wake up, America. There's something going on, man. A man who's taking away all kind of programs. Blacks in government, where I'm going right now, they hit them hard. SHRM, National Head Start Association, all kind of programs who have just been cut back, and all they're doing, man, I realize that even Head Start I'm talking about, service 750,000 children a year. What you want to touch that program for? What? Why? So tonight, I'm just giving y'all some food for thought, man. And I'm telling you this, that you got to be a little ahead of this cost of living allowance that they're trying to give us that's just not working. COLA ain't nothing but a joke. If I was in the White House right now and I was working in the executive branch, not the executive, the legislative branch, talking to the executive branch and the legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch, those branches of government that we all said we got something in our Constitution called checks and balances. It ain't no damn body checking up on Trump about nothing he does, man. Everybody's talking about it right now. The whole, not just America, the whole world is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. How can one person have enough ability to do all of these things that are still going on? And I don't know, man, it's kind of crazy. When you just look at people and you stand there in front of the entire world and you call a reporter stupid, you call you I don't know if it's the MAGA cohort, because I can't get into who and why they voted like this, but it just kind of it's unsettling to me, and I don't know. I'm a child of the 50s, I guess me coming up being 6 years old in 1960, there was still blacks sit over here, whites over there. I went and got a job sometime, and I could see how some of the white foremen treated me as a young black teenage kid. I never forget walking home one night when I just walking home from my brother's house to my mom's house. Cops took me slamming on them. What are you doing walking around here and look like you're about to steal something? Are you trying to break us? I mean, just because I was the victim of B on B, black on black, because one of the guys who stopped him with me looked just like me, and I was trying to say, well, you know the hood, you know where I'm at, you know what I'm doing. And here's the point I'm making, man. It ain't stopped yet. And we're wondering, will it ever stop? Will there ever be like a place in this country where everybody won't look at this color of the skin thing and let people be people? Systematic racism is still going on. That it's just very, very difficult for some people to show up and just look the way they look and not be, should I say, prejudged about what they're capable of doing. We've already seen it, man. What African Americans have contributed to this country. We don't have to talk about it. You can go as far back as slavery, and to endure, to have that kind of tenacity and audacity to still wake up and say you're gonna function in the capacity. Nah, that's a different breed there, man. And I'll never forget the old news guy, Jimmy the Greek, made that racist comment about, black people being like this and that, and they fired him instantly. Just forgetting that, no. We're still just human beings like anybody else. Whatever we innately got, whatever we intrinsically got, whatever we inherently got, it is what it is. It's inborn in us. I always call it the 4-eye effect. It's always present. And I'm so grateful to this country for so much that has happened. I'm in an interracial marriage. My wife is Cuban. I don't mind telling anybody that. And I know what she's going through just being a woman that's Cuban, just to be in this country right now. We all saw what ICE was doing. Nobody couldn't understand it. And then people had to die for them to actually stop it. People had to die for them to finally stop ICE and calm it down and do what it should have been doing all along. Do things, follow the due diligence, follow the protocol correctly, and handle it correctly. Do you realize, man, that I'm talking about ICE, that they went in once, and it was just on 60 Minutes the other night, and arrested some Korean people who were here with papers doing something to train American people to be able to manufacture and do some of the work that we can't do, and kick them out of this country? Scary. There's a trend in America right now, and I'm gonna go right into it right now. First and foremost, and we can wrap it up about everything we talked about just politics, and now just shifting to what's the pivot, what's the recourse, what's the alternative? Because we already know the president's rating right now, 32% out of the whole country is just saying, down, down, down. That's what they're saying. It's not me, it's not Gregory Griffith, it's not the GG factor, it's what they're saying out here. And we're still trying to figure out, because of that, why out of 100% of people who are registered to vote, that only 60, maybe 62% of the people who are registered to vote. And it all comes down to everything you've heard me talking about tonight, and the kind of things that are going down, that there just doesn't seem to be an answer. And people just get tired. They don't feel their vote matters. But I'm here to tell you, man, please don't buy that sucker punch, man. Don't buy it. That's what's got us in this predicament that we're in right now. Enough people laid back, and enough other people stood up and exercised their right, and the rest is history. We're living with the ramification of that apathetic action. And when you're apathetic to the point that you don't exercise your right, you might as well shut up, because now your voice don't matter. You're screaming too loud. It's too late. So I hope that as we move forward, I always use me kind of as an example all the time. I realize, I say, oh, wow, there's some pivots we got to take. Oh, wow, there's some products that people still want out here. Oh, wow, there's some services people still want, no matter what the economic climate is, that you still can produce a product or a service. Find something you can monetize. Find something that you can call your passion, your purpose, your entrepreneurial dream. Set up your LLC, your S Corp. Get you a good accountant, get you a good attorney, build your team. As they say, if you're the smartest person in your team, you need a new team. Go out, even if you don't come into the activator.net and click to get activated community, still find someone who can help you polish up where you got some dull places in your life. Take you out of the living in organized chaos realm. A great percentile of this country lives with organized chaos, and it's evident in domestic violence, the number one killer in America, aside from probably heart failure. And that's another whole conversation. I'm about to wrap up here. I won't even get too deep into it. But when domestic violence is number one, because people got access to guns and they can pull the trigger and just shoot somebody, a sad reality about that, now that I'm speaking about it, it was here in South Florida, and it was horrible. This guy lost it. He didn't even use a gun. He stabbed his kids to death, stabbed his wife, and then killed himself. Mental health issues, hidden obscurities that nobody can see. Things that happen that you get all kind of warning signs. And every time we finally catch someone who tried to do something terrible, and we find out and we go into the history of them and what the problems were, or right here this school right here in South Florida, you know. And Maru, I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of that school in South Florida where the young kid came right in and just murdered about 1928 people right here in Parkland? You know what I mean? And Stoneman Douglas, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I'm so sorry. How could I forget that school? I was a keynote speaker there about 20 years ago. Another whole story. But the point I want to make to you is that kid was sending all kind of signals to everyone, his own parents, the school system, people in the community, everybody. And he got there and got to that campus and lost his mind, killed all those people and went back to McDonald's and got something to eat. Let me tell you something, man. That's who you're walking around with. And I don't care if it's 1 out of a million, that's too many. Because we've already seen when someone can be deranged like that, the impact, the way it can just, and you know, when it's a traumatic event like that, it's such a domino effect of just blatant draining. When you see it on the news, your heart goes out to people who are victims of that kind of circumstance. So, you know, when your neighbor's showing some signs that they may need a little someone to smile, you know, when I sing that song "Wonderful World," and I get to the midsection, we need to go out and show a lot more love, a lot more gratitude, a lot more peace between us. I live in a very heterogeneous neighborhood here. Blacks, whites, Asians, Cubans, Puerto Ricans. You know, we're all here together. We come through that same gate. And if something were to happen to my neighbor, any of them around here, they know they can knock on my door. They can knock on the door. One of us is going to be there for them. We witnessed that during the time that we had, I think it was Hurricane Wilma. And we lost all our lights and no way to function. And everybody came out in the backyard and our neighbors in the back. They owned a restaurant. They brought food to everyone. And that it always seemed like when there's a crisis, it'll bring us together in a way that we could be like that without a crisis. So I don't know what to tell you other than this, man. When I'm solo like this, there are a lot of things that run through my head. I don't know if I missed anything tonight. I really want to talk about, hey, how about that earthquake that just 90 miles from here, just west of Cuba? I don't know if you all heard about this or not. And that's when you know, when they start talking about climate change and just the should I say just the geographical display of what's going on around us. Here's an earthquake, 6.1 Richter scale or something, 90 miles away from us, just west of Cuba, and you can feel it all the way in Jacksonville, all the way at the north tip of Florida, from 90 miles away from Florida and Cuba. That's scary. They had to evacuate condos on Brickell. They shut down Disney World, Disneyland in Orlando. You never know when it's going to be your time to end in this physical realm. That's why I asked the question once again. Are you living to define yourself? I asked another question again. Are you functioning at your maximum potential? I asked you another question again. Do you want to activate a better version of you? When you can answer those questions, but you don't think that you're doing that, this Thursday night, the Strive Masterclass on relationships. Right before I wrap up tonight, yeah, I'm almost an hour in, and boy, it goes by so quickly. I want you to notice tonight, I'm offering you the alternative to come out, take my personal assessment. Even if you don't come into my Get Activated community, the assessment is free. Send it over to me. I'll be glad to, get on a call with you, help you find your pain points, help you find the places where you're procrastinating, help you get over that fear of failure mentality. People are so scared, they dare themselves to step out of the box. And I know it helped me, man. When somebody else could see something in me, I couldn't see it myself. And I think that's why I've just jumped on this bandwagon about being for a humanitarian cause, to be a life coach, to be a consultant, to be an entertainment specialist. I'm blessed I can still jump in front of people and sing and go home some nights and forget I get a paycheck for it. And I'm a living witness, man. If you love it, it's going to love you back. My sister Ruby Baker, man, 12 years old and was our lead singer. When I went to see the Michael Jackson movie, it just made me think about how someone could be so young and just be gifted that way. And she went on to get the keys to the city in Deerfield Beach, Florida. She went on a tour with Gloria Estefan. She went on to do her own CD. I mean, and she never ever stopped believing in what her tag said. And I tell my sister Ruby all the time, you're born to sing. You're born to sing. Your passion. Trust me, when you find that passion, that's your purpose. And you can knock on the door to the universe. And when they realize it and they feel that relentless enthusiasm, I'll never forget when I decided I wanted to be a speaker. And I jumped out and just jumped in front of every teacher who could help me. I wanted to put my first program on in the auditorium at the school there. And one teacher told me something one day and it stayed with me. She said, wow, Mr. G, man, Mr. Griffith, your enthusiasm is contagious. I was so excited just to get a job when I got my first year as a teacher. I had 6 classes in 6 different rooms. I had kids who had just got a juvenile delinquency school, kids who've been put in jail for stealing cars. I had kids who come in, if you look at them the wrong way, they'll fire on you. But I was just glad to have a damn job. And I came with that relentless enthusiasm about it. And you know something? Here's the point I want to make. Whatever your occupation might be right now, show up 110%. When I started showing up every day and writing to these kids every day, and I gave them the assignment to write down what I'm writing to you. I called it my daily journals. And by the end of maybe a year or two of doing that, I had hundreds of them. And something sparked me. I knew it was God in me. And God said, you can write a book about this stuff, G. And guess what? That book behind me, Activate or Stagnate, it came from me loving my job so much I forgot about the crappy paychecks they gave me. I was just so happy I had benefits. I could feed my family. And I still had the ability to go out and play music. But something kept telling me, what you saying, somebody else needs to hear it. And as soon as I wrote that book and put it out there and people started paying me to speak, I was blown away. I never quit teaching. Something you're doing on your job that you can monetize from a passionate perspective that you can get additional cash for. I became a speaker. I became an author. I became a workshop presenter. I became an edutainment specialist. Then they took my book and put it in all the vocational classrooms in Broward County schools, the 6th largest school district in the country. Who am I? Just a guy from the 50s. Who am I? Didn't even know my dad till I was 50 years old. Who am I? Had a kid at 18 years old. Took my kid to classes with me at FAMU. Who am I? I'm trying to tell you, and I overcame all of that. Mindset. Because I did it with passion. I got through all of that. My deprivation has always been my greatest motivation. Somebody I'm talking to tonight, come on into my camp. Theactivator.net is the link. Before I kick out, I always kick my music back in. And I'm telling you like this, man. You're always closer than you think. Activate a winner's mindset. If you don't have a mentor and you just want to find out where your pain points are, where you're having some issues, you just want to talk to me, all you got to do is go to my website, click the Get Activated Community, or just go to my website and come into that free access is the word strive with MC, STRIVE-MC. You don't have to pay that $27 this week and maybe one more week of that. And all I'm saying to you is this, you'll be surprised when you activate attack mentality. That is what? Functioning with tenacity and audacity and the capacity. I call it TAC. When you activate your TAC, when you say against all odds, no matter how many times you fall down, you can learn from that experience and get up. You know, Michael Jordan, I say it every week, he didn't make the basketball team the first time he went out. His mother told him, boy, if you want to do it, get your you-know-what up and get back out there and try again. Well, the rest is history. Simone Biles, mental breakdown, was thinking about just getting out of gymnastics altogether, took a step back, analyzed where she was at, found her pain points. It happens. If you have the mindset to say, in the game of life, you can keep going to bat till you hit the home run. I'm Gregory Griffith. I've enjoyed every moment of this tonight. And as I start with music, I end with music. And I want you to know Thursday nights are wide open for you. It's free. You know, if you're on IG, all you got to do is DM the word succeed and you're in the house. And I'll take it like this, man. Coming to my camp, your life will never be the same. Get activated. It's theactivator.net. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll find out if a guy like me can do it, you can do it too. Function at your maximum potential. Until Thursday night, I'm going to say see you. And don't forget, if you're in the Augusta, Georgia area, a week from this Friday on Juneteenth, I'll be in Augusta, Georgia, Blacks in Government, big 90-minute presentation. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun. Shout out to my man again who will be there presenting also, Dr. Robert Lemmer. Shout out to Rachel Brown. Your birthday tonight. May God bless you to let your light keep shining upon humanity. Hey, man, I love you guys out there. And guess what? Like George Wallace would say, the Black George Wallace, there's nothing you can do about it. See ya.